This week on Video Game Nation, we're breaking apart LEGO Dimensions brick by brick. John counts down the top 5 franchises he'd love to see given the LEGO treatment. Our panel of big kids talk up the toys to life genre. And Dan asks the question, who are all these toys for anyway? All that to come on this week's Video Game Nation.
It's so colourful.
It is rather pleasant.
10 years ago, when LEGO first started making video game tie-ins with LEGO Star Wars, the company and developer Traveller's Tales began to imagine a game where the figures could come to life as you played with them. It was an ambitious vision, and gaming technology wasn't really up to the challenge, and so the idea was shelved. Some years later, along came Skylanders, then came Disney Infinity, and then came Nintendo's Amiibo. And now actual toy manufacturer LEGO finally enters the Toys to Life arena with LEGO Dimensions. It was always inevitable. In fact, many would wonder at why it took so long. But whenever you sit down to play it, you'll probably agree that LEGO Dimensions was worth the wait. Like the many LEGO titles that have come before it, Dimensions is a third-person game that mixes combat, stud collecting, and puzzle solving with wit, humour, and a clear love and respect for whatever franchise it's sending up. Dimensions takes all this further than ever before, with a staggering number of universes crossing over and interacting with one another. Batman, Gandalf, and the LEGO Movie's wild style lead the charge, but you'll meet others from The Simpsons, Scooby-Doo, Doctor Who, Portal, The Wizard of Oz, and more. It's no easy feat to bring all of these huge and tonally diverse games together while still retaining even a slight semblance of a coherent plot. And Dimensions not only nails it, it manages to have a lot of fun with its fairly unique cross-branding predicament. All this comes at a price, however. The Dimensions Starter Pack, which includes the game, the Portal, 3 figures and the Batmobile, will currently set you back £80. You don't have to buy anything beyond that, but Dimensions suggests other level and team packs often, which will no doubt lead to kids running to the Iron Bank of mum and dad. For the completionists out there, buying up everything LEGO Dimensions has to offer would currently set you back about £300. That is no small sum, and rightfully, even the prospect of shelling out that much has put some people off.
No, of course I can't possibly afford LEGO Dimensions. I've got 2 small boys, so financially my life is over. I don't know how we're going to afford all of the things that they're going to want.
I cannot afford it all, but I'll try.
No, no one can afford it all. Have you seen how much that starter pack is? It's ridiculous.
I was very, very saddened, delighted and then saddened to learn that The Simpsons is coming to LEGO Dimensions, because that's the point at which I can't resist anymore. And I'm already very frightened about what's going to happen to my wallet.
No one can afford it, and if you've got that much money, you shouldn't be spending that on that. There's now, for these games, there are more toys for these games than I had toys when I was a kid. It's got out of hand, it's ridiculous.
I can afford all of the LEGO Dimensions stuff because my parents are incredibly rich and they get me everything I want for my birthday and for Christmas. So that's because they love me. And if your parents aren't going to buy everything for you, then maybe they don't love you.
I think he's going crazy.
Whilst the integration of the game and the physical toys is imaginative in how it affects gameplay, it might annoy some older players that you have to sit quite close to the portal in order to manipulate characters and vehicles throughout the course of the main game. For instance, in an early boss battle, a Wicked Witch can bind your characters by a spell, and only by picking up their figures and moving them to another portion of the portal will you be able to move them again. Clever, but it might mean you have to sit on the floor. Another very smart way the players are encouraged to interact with the toys is when the vehicle upgrades are unlocked. You'll be granted blueprints that teach you how to dismantle and rebuild your cars into different variants, using the exact same number of pieces. Unlike other Toys to Life games, where the toys are really more like statues, Dimensions actually wants you to play with its physical components. You can also use any existing LEGO you have to customize your characters, vehicles, and portal. It won't affect their appearance in-game, of course, but you can just make them a little more you. All this is great for players like me, of course, but on the flip side, having so many small pieces around could prove a nightmare for parents, who'll tell you that kids have a tendency to lose crucial building pieces about 5 minutes after they're out of the box. Provided it's not the blue-based structure each character and vehicle's data is written onto, it won't take anything away from the digital game, but it's still a loss when you consider just how much it all cost you. All that said, if you do decide to take the plunge, the core game is a very good one. You can be sure more expansions will arrive in the not too distant future. After The Simpsons, Doctor Who, DC and Ghostbusters, where else is the happy universe hopping game likely to go?
To be honest, most of the franchises I want to see in LEGO Dimensions are owned in some way by Disney, which is a problem because of Disney Infinity. So, you know, they've got Star Wars, they've got Marvel, they've got actual Disney, they've got Pixar, and they even have what would be my absolute favorite thing, Studio Ghibli. You know, Totoro and Porco Rosso and all of that stuff. In LEGO, that would be the best thing.
More movie stuff, I think maybe like Gravity or Life of Pi, Castaway with Tom Hanks, because those are all movies with just one character in them, so they can't sell me 20 toys I don't need.
To buy or not to buy is up to you, but despite its rather high entry fee, LEGO Dimensions is guaranteed to make you laugh, even when it's making off with your wallet. It's funny, it's clever, and let's be honest, where else can you see Marty McFly, Wonder Woman and Krusty the Clown making off in the Batmobile? Exactly. Now, if none of our panel's takes on LEGO took your fancy, here's John's top 5 potential franchises that he'd like to see join the LEGO Dimensions universe next.
I suppose we'll just wait for them then.
Hello, television friends. High def, high five. With LEGO making a video game of every franchise under the sun because everything isn't awesome, they need money, let's have a look at 5 franchises that could and should get a yellow-headed blocky makeover. But first, a bit of nostalgia. Remember the good old days back when LEGO didn't need an extra brand and you could play with pirates and they didn't have to be Johnny Depp? God, that was great. I used to think Minecraft was LEGO for people too lazy to LEGO, but now there's Minecraft LEGO, which means Minecraft is now LEGO for when LEGO can't sell LEGO. Depressing. Captain Kirk used to say that space was the final frontier, and now it can be, in block form. Star Trek has millions of characters, aliens, weapons, bits of equipment, exotic planets, even if a lot of those exotic planets were just the same planet with a different set, and most of the aliens were just the same 5 guys with Mars bars glued to their foreheads. But best of all, there's all those starships, the beautiful Enterprise D, the incredible Klingon bird of prey, the really, really easy to make Borg cube. It's a cube, and it's black. This is the kind of LEGO that your kids would be building if the Soviet Union had won the Cold War. Build! Build! No fun! Just building! And if you don't like this, you can go back to stacking Tetris blocks. Plus, if they could rope in some of the various casts, then another generation of kids could get excited about hearing Patrick Stewart say, "Make it so." If you can make a LEGO game out of the Lord of the Rings, and you can make a LEGO game out of the Harry Potter series, then you can make a LEGO game out of the series of books and films where a lion is Jesus and a witch is going to make you feel strange about women for a while. Narnia would be LEGO in 2 worlds. First, Second World War Britain. Oh, just think of the romance. All those bombs and all that rationing. And the colour grey. Gamers love the colour grey. No? Call of Duty? You could run around that huge house until you find the wardrobe, and then bang! It's you and the other kids in Narnia, chasing after Mr. Tumnus and getting bribed by older ladies carrying Turkish delight. It's the 2 greatest toys of the 1980s in a death match to determine which one hurt more when you trod on them. LEGO let you create without boundaries. Transformers gave you boundaries in giant robot form. Imagine what happens if Optimus Prime and his merry band of junkyard jokers got a shot in the world of blocks. For a start, everything would be colossal. The LEGO buildings would need to be huge and everything would need to be destructible, so you could make as much of a mess of each level as Michael Bay did of the movies. Some of you might say, no, I like the Transformers movies. No, you didn't. Your brain's a Decepticon. My favourite thing in the Lego games is that they are so very, very cute, you will forget that anything bad has ever happened in any of the franchises they're based on. Even when you watch your little guy get smashed apart, you don't die. You just lose a lot of little Lego bits and can run around collecting them like Sonic the Hedgehog used to. So let's take the games where there's no death and combine them with the games that are all death. You get hit in Lego, you lose Lego bits. You get hit in Mortal Kombat Lego. All these Lego bits would be tiny chunks of Lego intestine. Finally, a Mortal Kombat game for the under 5s. Friendship. One is a game where you construct the impossible, the other is a series where everybody's hair represents a triumph of architecture. The best possible fusion between Lego and a media brand would be Lego Final Fantasy. Every person in the Final Fantasy games is elaborate. Everybody's got some kind of special skill. Every single game is set in another incredible fusion of sorcery and high-tech, low-tech majesty. The marvellous menagerie of monsters alone is reason enough to make it. Would it sell? Sure it would. Or even if it was a complete flop, at least you wouldn't have to change the character models from Final Fantasy VII since everybody looked like they were made of Lego anyway. And what kid wouldn't love a Lego Chocobo? Plus, Lego games can finally admit that their games aren't made for children, they're made for nostalgic adults who are bad at video games. You don't make an Indiana Jones game because a kid wants to play Indiana Jones. You make it because there's a nostalgic parent who wants to play an Indiana Jones game with their kid and is embarrassed that they keep dying in all the other harder games.
Still to come on Video Game Nation, we ponder the future of the Toys to Life genre, and Dan asks, just who are all these toys based on franchises from 30 years ago actually for? We'll see you in a few.
Slam them on a base, you're ready, that's money. My money. Make it.
That's what happens when we have to face the real world.
Welcome back to Video Game Nation. You know, I never really got into Spyro the Dragon as a kid, and so when the first Skylanders game came out years ago, I assumed it was a passing fad. How wrong I was. The Toys to Life genre is big business, and many other game franchises are now following down the trail that Spyro first blazed.
Toys to Life, it's the ultimate present. Toys to Life. You get to Christmas, you imagine being a kid where someone says you're going to get toys, you're going to get a game, and you're going to get magic all in one box. And you put a toy on a thing, I'm still amazed when you put a Skylander or a Disney Infinity, I don't know what you would call a Disney Infinite, maybe a Disney Infinite, on the little base, and it comes to life. That's still magic, especially with Skylanders where they work that into the lore. You put them on, they're like, oh, thanks for bringing me to life. And it's like, magic. That, I think, is the lure of it, like that you're going to give a kid the ultimate present, or a giant kid like me who buys himself the ultimate present.
It's like when you see the opening to Toy Story and it's inside Andy's brain and all of this crazy stuff is happening. It sort of taps into the feeling that your toys are living things that can have adventures that aren't just happening on your living room floor, but in like fantasy worlds.
Pardon me?
For adults, I think Toys to Life has less appeal because it just becomes an awful lot of plastic stuff in your house. And I think anybody who's into video games has really a lot of plastic stuff in their house already.
You know, I think in many ways the Toys to Life genre isn't all that unique because technology has always been trying to replicate real life in some way. I mean, look at Windows operating system, you know, it's a desktop. It's got folders and files and a bin in the corner. You know, this idea that technology should echo something that is tangible and real has kind of always been around, and Toys to Life just sort of makes it really literal. You know, it's like, you know, this figure here, that's real. There you go. You're playing with it in real life. You're playing with it in the game, and it just fuses that idea. But I think the innate wonder of that is something which goes way beyond the genre.
I don't understand why there's so many games that do it. When I mean, I know I bang on about being old, but when I was a kid, if I wanted a computer game, I got a computer game. If I wanted a toy, I got a toy. Like, if I want to have breakfast, and I want a coffee, I need the kettle. I don't have to buy a toaster and plug that in as well before the kettle will let me boil water. They're thieves.
I have a much better idea.
To be honest, I feel like we've got enough now. I feel like it's enough with, you know, again, as the mother of small children, my house is full of little plastic figures and weird looking devices to make them do things with the game on the I don't need any more little bits of plastic in my life. Death to Toys to Life, that's what I'm saying. Death.
Vader killed my father?
Honestly, I think more toy companies need to get involved in this. I mean, Hasbro is the obvious one. They've got Transformers, G.I. Joe, and even My Little Pony. I mean, think about it. My Little Pony would probably be a huge hit as a Toys to Life game.
I mean, I'm going to keep saying it. Wrestling. They make toys anyway. Just stick a little base on the bottom of the toys and have it, like, do the games like that. Rather than doing another, like, WWE sim thing, just do a fun, sort of action-orientated one, sort of like WWE All-Stars, but with the figures. They make the figures anyway. You just need to put a little chip in their shoe and you slam them on a base. You're ready. That's money. My money. Make it.
I'd love to see Pokemon just go full force into it. I mean, there's Pokemon Amiibo stuff, but I want to see their own range of Pokemon toys that you can take into like a Pokemon Stadium style situation, tied in with the card game, and you've got yourself like an incredible Toys to Life experience.
I don't want to see anyone else enter the fray. I want to be able to give someone £40 and then play the computer game in its entirety. I don't understand why that's so difficult.
Join the dark side.
Well, you know, I think when you look to the future of Toys to Life, a lot of people forget that Toys to Life has a really long history. It didn't start with Skylanders. Like, you could argue it started right the way back in the 80s with something like Rob, the robotic operating buddy that came bundled with the original NES. And that was a toy who you sat down and you played games like Gyromite with, and he would move these little discs around and do stuff, and he had like eyes and he could see the TV, and it was really ambitious. And that's what they sold the NES off, this idea that it wasn't like, oh no, it wasn't a games console because the video game crash happened and everyone was scared of games consoles. So they were like, no, it's a toy, it's a robotic operating buddy, and he just happens to play video games with you.
Do you know, I'm sort of hoping that this whole Toys to Life thing is just a fad. And that's, you know, fads come and go all the time. You know, there was the guitar games a few years ago, that was the big thing. And then there was Wii Fit, and, you know, there's Craig David. You know, I'm hoping it's just going to be one of those things that's like a big deal for a little while and then it just does one.
I think something that would be cool is, rather than buying a toy and having it come to life in a video game, creating something in a video game and having it come to life in real life. And I think with 3D printing ever increasing in sophistication, I think that's going to happen soon. The things that you create in video games are going to be able to exist in real space in your home as well. And I think that's a great possibility.
I think the future of this kind of game is people amassing way too much stuff, like piles and piles of little plastic, little bits of Lego people, and they're all going to end up in a box somewhere. And you're never going to play with them again, and your parents are going to be very angry with you.
I think probably the end game for all the Toys to Life stuff is Walt Disney's reanimated corpse giggling in a swimming pool full of the world's pocket money.
That's our cue. Let's go.
Let's face facts, LEGO Dimensions isn't really for children. The base set costs £80, additional figure packs at least another £15, and most of the sets are based on films and games that they're too young to have either watched or played. I mean, I don't know many kids with a spare £100 kicking around that are also big fans of Ghostbusters and classic Midway arcade games, but maybe that's just because all of my parent friends are raising poor, uncultured children. They're not. They're great.
So who is it for then? American cartoonist Dakota McFadzean sums it up nicely in a short comic strip depicting a father violently imposing the geek culture of his era, Star Wars, Nintendo, Back to the Future, onto his infant child before maniacally imploring his terrified offspring to be him.
In other words, every parent claiming that they're buying LEGO Dimensions for their darling son or daughter.
They, like me, had the dubious honour of belonging to the first generation of people for whom growing up was almost optional. Yes, we have careers and partners and mortgages and opinions on that thing in the news, just like adults are supposed to, but we also think it's acceptable to use our disposable income to continue indulging our childish whims.
I mean, I say childish whims, but these amiibo are a serious investment, all right?
LEGO Dimensions is fairly conclusive proof that publishers know that the supposedly responsible adults holding the purse strings aren't necessarily splashing out just to keep little Billy entertained, and they are more than happy to pander to us.
So why do we do it? Well, my theory is that we, held a childhood desire to see the characters and worlds we loved from film and TV done justice in gaming adaptations, but they almost always fell disappointingly short of our unrealistic expectations.
The trouble was that the gaming hardware of the time, that is the 1980s, was generally incapable of producing anything that could possibly live up to the shows and films that had captured our hearts and minds. I'll always remember saving up to buy the excitingly titled Masters of the Universe Super Adventure, with its thrilling cover image of He-Man locked in mortal combat with Skeletor and promises of incredible cartoon-like graphics, only to discover that it was a punishingly difficult text adventure that couldn't even be bothered to spell King Randor's name correctly.
I wouldn't mind, but they do it twice in the same paragraph. Sloppy.
And the disappointments kept coming with interpretations of Thundercats, Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Transformers, Bravestar, and He-Man, again, all proving to be absolute bobbins. DuckTales was good though.
Now we find ourselves in an age where the disillusioned kids of that era aren't just still playing games, they're making them too.
And, not coincidentally I suspect, we're starting to get the games our prepubescent selves always dreamed of. As we've established, LEGO Dimensions treats the sacrosanct touchstones of our youth with the reverence they deserve and allows them to team up.
If I was able to tell my 8-year-old self that Marty McFly, Peter Venkman and Scooby-Doo would one day star in the same game, I doubt he'd believe me, but then that's probably because he'd still be processing the fact that his future self had abused the miracle of time travel to relay such a trivial message.
We've also been treated to surprise appearances from He-Man and G.I. Joe in Ubisoft's Toy Soldiers War Chest, an action tower defense game where the plasticky do-gooders can vie for supremacy against World War I era German military and an army of non-copyrighted Rainbow Bright, My Little Pony and Care Bear clones.
If you're not one for Legofication or cameos in other franchises, and just want a straight-up action game built exclusively for your 80s idols, you're catered for too. So long as you like He-Man or Transformers.
He-Man, the most powerful game in the universe, is a surprisingly decent action platformer for mobile, but for a truly authentic Eternia experience, check out the completely unofficial and completely free He-Man game for PC. This 4-player brawler looks like it was pulled straight from the TV screen, features a ton of playable characters, including a cheeky appearance by Lion-O, and continues to be updated based on the community's requests for new characters and special moves.
However, the one that's got my inner 6-year-old most excited is Transformers Devastation.
Take Generation 1 Transformers, add Bayonetta creators Platinum Games, and, well, what more do you need? Everything looks completely authentic, most of the original voice cast has returned, the action is as polished as you'd expect, and you get to play as Grimlock. Bliss.
Do we, this privileged generation that demands the world never forget our childhood, deserve to be rewarded? Absolutely not. But if the likes of LEGO Dimensions and Transformers Devastation are the product of our self-imposed arrested development, I see no reason to grow up anytime soon.
Leave the building to the master builders. Bats will leave the gargoyle perching to you.
And with that, we're about ready to hop through the next portal out of here. Don't forget to send your questions, comments, and missing LEGO pieces this way via the power of social media. You can get in touch using our Facebook page, using the hashtag VGN, or just spell it out in LEGO pieces. I have no idea where this goes. Nailed it. See you next time.
Someone somewhere has a bullseye tankard cluttering up their attic. None of that is a euphemism. Bullseye is tonight at 8 on Challenge.